Welcome to Duluth, Minnesota. It's July. It's time for the Cirrus Owners and Pilots Association annual gathering, COPA 2008, otherwise known as M6. In keeping with our usual standards here, we're going to start out with 3 questions. Question number 2, very simply, how is GA stacking up against airline travel in 2008?
I think that's a fair question, and it's getting less and less competitive in that context. Just reading in the paper about Northwest, $15 a bag now. What? So yes, I think that very really impacts general aviation, impacts how we view the trips. So I think what's going to happen is you're going to start to see general aviation picking up.
Personally, I'm bringing airline-style programs to general aviation, and my goal as a airline professional and as a general aviation professional is to introduce programs that are currently used within the airline sector that improve safety so there becomes an equivalent level of safety in general aviation, and we're getting close.
I would say yes, I leave the flying to myself. I happen to fly several people around instead of the airlines, so I have that luxury, and I know some friends that are at the airlines that are not liking it right now.
You know, when given the choice of coming from California to Duluth, the airline options are pretty unappealing, and the opportunity to visit friends on the way, to be able to control your own schedule, and certainly to be more convenient in terms of the process of going through terminals and so on, it can be both more enjoyable and more effective to fly myself.
When I have bad traveling experiences on commercial airlines, I smile on the other side of my face, saying this makes the personal travel that much more appealing. And every time I hear of a colleague that gets a 2-hour delay or a canceled flight, I say, boy, I had bad weather. In fact, yesterday I was delayed 10 minutes getting into Duluth.
Aero-TV is brought to you by...
You've heard of this thing called WAAS, right? The Wide Area Augmentation System lets you fly GPS glide path approaches without relying on ground-based landing aids. No VOR, no ILS, no problem. Fact is, WAAS is so smart, it even knows what you're going to say next time you need it. And don't have it on board. Wah, I want my WAAS now! I was really crying there for a second.
We try and find excuses now to use GA whenever possible. I just recently had to fly commercial for a number of reasons, and I had forgotten just how wonderfully pleasant GA flying is.
Well, I have to admit that whenever I can, I fly myself. It's not always, even with the increase in airline prices, it's still a little more economical to go on the airlines, but the hassle factor is just so much easier to fly myself. But given weather and other situations, you know, I fly airlines when I have to, or when there's someplace that I have to be, I always have an airline ticket in my pocket. I think that's the safe way to fly general aviation. But there's nothing more fun than flying yourself.
When I have to be someplace, really have to be there, I will look to the commercial airlines. But if I have some flexibility in my plans, I definitely try to fly myself.
I avoid the airlines like the plague. I believe I've only done a couple of commercial flights in the last 3 or 4 years. Everything else is done in my SR-22.
Well, I am definitely leaving more of the flying up to myself. I am definitely using general aviation for business, and we as a business have been greatly affected by this, and so we are transporting far more of our employees using our own aircraft and fractional aircraft to transport our people.
It's been a terrific change. It's nice when your wife will ask you, gee, honey, do you think we can take the plane to go to that or this, rather than the usual, well, let's make airline reservations. Airline flying today has frankly become a desperately unpleasant experience for most of the flying population.
Aero-TV is brought to you by... Cirrus aircraft have always been easy to fly. Now they're easier than ever to buy. A complete line of ownership programs gives you everything you need to purchase, trade, finance, lease, insure, and warranty your Cirrus. There's even an ownership program for non-pilots. The Cirrus Access Pilot can teach you how to fly, or fly the plane for you. Find out more at www.cirrusdesign.com. Cirrus, for the love of flying.
It's almost a different animal. GA flying will get you there slower, but at your own control. it also is so much more than what transportation is about. It's about self-satisfaction, it's about alone time, it's about quality of life, and it's about going places commercial airliners just don't go.
When I came and got my last plane, I got a brand new Cirrus Perspective Turbo 2 weeks ago. I was at the Little Rock Airport at 12:30 on a Wednesday afternoon, which means I had to cancel half a day of work. My flight was finally canceled at 6 p.m. I had to get up at 3:30 the next morning to be at the airport so my luggage could be through security by 5:10 so I could make a 5:30 flight. 24 hours after I arrived at the Little Rock Airport, I arrived at Duluth. This week, I worked all day Wednesday, drove to the airport, got in my airplane, and 4 hours later, I was in Duluth, Minnesota. No fuss, no muss, even with the bad weather.
I don't fly commercial anymore. I leave the flying to my Cirrus, and it's wonderful. It's just painless, and I plan to continue to do it that way.
Well, certainly I'll do a lot of flying myself. It's interesting you asked me that because I do a heck of a lot of flying with United in particular. As a global service member, I do a couple 100,000 miles a year with United, but a lot of that's international. So when the domestic part of the flying happens, and if it's Los Angeles versus someplace within a few hundred miles, GA is definitely the way. If I got to fly all the way across the U.S., United's still probably going to get me there. But certainly to go to a small town, nothing beats it.